But in my mind and my heart, we're here to talk about just at the core of what it means to build a profitable business without burning out and without crossing ethical bounds. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about that to kick off, because that's where we really left off in the last conversation. And then in my mind, we're also here to talk about integration of self, starting with integrity in self, moving through integrity in business, moving through integrity of self and business into the world, starting inward and working outward, as our North Star for building a profitable business, as opposed to literally anything else. And so we're going to talk about, or in my mind, what we're going to talk about is like attracting our clients and working with clients and navigating difficult situations and what it means to move from a place of integrity versus a place of strategy. And then also I have rest here, because rest is a really, really important piece of this that I think we often leave out. So this in my mind is what we're doing here. I want to pause and just check in and see, how does this sound for all of you? And what else?
I think it sounds like a great start, and I will let you know if I think of anything else or it pops up as you're going.
Amazing. Yes. And I say, like, feel free to do that. Katie, Kimberly, Marsha, all of you guys, feel free to come off of mute and just like speak, because again, it's us. So we can make it what it is. Okay. So quick recap on the first conversation. So the first conversation, by the way, still not uploaded into the community. I will do this, I promise. Maybe even tonight when I'm uploading this one. But the first conversation, it went pretty sideways actually, but the basis of that conversation was around recognizing the energy of ourselves, of our own selves, of our own soul, recognizing that versus, or distinguishing between that and the energy of anything it is that we do. So like anytime we, let's say, start a business, start on a project, start a new job, start a new role, meet a new friend, get in a new relationship, a lot of times there's this, well, actually every single time there's like this convergence of energies that happen. And a lot of times we can find ourselves getting overwhelmed with it, or like taking it too far, getting caught up in the energies. So like, and just like building momentum within it, whether that's intentional or unintentional, right? So I think about anytime I've actually started a new role at Microsoft, I've been like so excited about starting the role, and I've been like so focused on the thing that it is that I'm supposed to be doing that I almost forget, wait, is this in alignment with me? Is this even what I want? Is this how I would be if I weren't considering this role? Or is this what I would do if I weren't working in this space, right? Like there's almost this moment where we override all things in self because we get so excited about the opportunity in front of us. I think this is really, really easy to do in business. And it's something that happens, I mean, in everything, but relationships is another really great example. And so the example I think I used last time in the last conversation was, you know, when you're young and you're like really close friends with someone, like if you think like childhood best friends even, and you think about just the times where you got overly excited being together and caught up in each other's energy, and maybe like have done things beyond what you would typically do. So I think the example I used, I think I asked everyone if anyone were like stolen from a store or something, especially as a child, right? Whenever we end up like getting caught up in energy, even if we're great people, even if we have good intentions, even if our values are clear, sometimes, and even if our friends are amazing too, right? Like we're all like really, really strong people, but sometimes what happens is we get so excited and we get so caught up in the fun that it can become easy to cross lines, right? And do things that maybe we wouldn't do if it were just us, or maybe we wouldn't do if we took some time back, or if it didn't seem as fun, you know? I even think about like now, sometimes I'll go out with my friends to have some drinks, right? And overdo it, like still, not that that's a bad thing, and not that it's ever a bad thing to overdo anything, but I think what's important and the basis of this is, how do we begin to recognize and distinguish where our energy ends and where this other energy might be beginning that we're engaging with. And then specifically taking this to a business focus of, whenever we get super caught up in the energy of our business, especially as we start to build momentum. So I don't think this happens quite so much. Like there are two specific like phases that I've seen with people that I work with, and I've seen even in myself, kind of in the beginning stages, we could say. So like we start our business, we start our project, we get super excited, and we're working on it all the time. because we're caught up in that energy. And so we constantly want to be doing things for our work. We constantly want to be doing things for our business, but maybe we're not super intentional in how we're working on it. And we're caught up in that energy. And so we're just doing stuff. So we're like suddenly really busy, but we're not actually being productive, and we're not like moving the needle. We're not bringing in money yet. And so this is a pattern we can actually get stuck in, our cycle, where we're so caught in the energy and we're so busy. We do all of the stuff, we don't get results, and then we burn out, right? That's something that can happen by being in the energy. That's not necessarily the thing that we want to happen, because we're not like necessarily allowing ourselves to be in control of the energy and what it is that we're doing and how we're working with it. Another thing that tends to happen is almost a different scenario, but similar, is like once we have put in all of that work and we are building a bunch of momentum and sales are rising and like numbers are increasing, it's really easy to get caught up in that, right? So it's really easy to forget why we started what we started and get really caught up in having 10K months, having 20K months, making like a ton of money, right? Or like building something that again comes down to back down to the numbers as opposed to the why. And so that was kind of the basis of our conversation last month. We kind of I derailed us a lot into talking about things like ethical sales. Ethical sales was like a really big thing, talking about imposing our beliefs or our philosophies on other people, empowered yeses and empowered nos. We can go into any and all of that because I think this is really important. But the root of that is when we get caught up in energy that isn't ours and we let that energy run us, we can see momentum and success. And also it becomes really easy to burn out. Hannah, I just saw you enter. I don't know if you're connected to audio yet, but I just want to say hi. So good to see you for a second. I was just giving a little recap of our conversation last month and just kind of getting caught up in the energy of something that's not ours. So today, the basis of what I want to talk about in holding integrity and self in business is your why, your work, and having conscious awareness and core values. So I'm actually going to grab my notes because I think this is really, really important. And so like what I've come to learn, especially when it comes towards success and correlation with like profitability and making a lot of money, is actually it doesn't come necessarily from strategizing and working outside of ourselves and then like trying to like mold ourselves to be that thing. And I think most of you all agree with that, and that's why you're here, because I think a lot of us share philosophies in that way. And it's okay if you don't, by the way. Like I'm completely comfortable and cool and supportive of that as well. What we also don't want to do, so there's that scenario where we see something outside of ourselves and then we shift ourselves to meet that thing and we strategize so that we can make money in that way. So like classic example is starting a business that solves a problem for another person, and like looking for, oh, you're so sweet, thank you, Hannah, I'm so excited, and there'll be a replay, so no worries. Starting a business on the basis of a problem that exists outside of us. Nothing's wrong with that, by the way. And it's very strategic, can be super sustainable, can be really successful, profitable business, right? But I think things kind of shift and change whenever we forget like the why of that. And then we start altering and shifting what the actual business does to meet what's going on outside, right? And we'll talk about this. So that's like one scenario. Another scenario would be actually trying to shift what's around us to meet us where we are. And this scenario comes about whenever we think, this goes online with ethical sales, by the way, but it comes around and it happens with us whenever we think maybe we know what's best for other people, or maybe we know what's best for those around us, or maybe we know what's best in this particular situation or example or time. And so we try to sell our work, and then we try to convince people to buy our work because we know that it's going to be good for them, right? And this is kind of that slippery slope. Yes. Oh, thanks, Hannah. And it's like a very slippery slope. And so to kind of like shift out of that is always to come back to self. And so like the whole point in today and like our discussion today is really just like, how do we develop integrity in self that's so strong that we're always working from inside, going outside, knowing that we're impacting the people that we're meant to impact, knowing that the work that we're doing is meant to be here, knowing that that is what's going to drive profit and scale, and being consciously aware of how we're impacting other people. And so to me, knowing who you are, knowing why you're here, how that translates into the work that you're going and doing and giving to the world, like that's the integrity that I'm talking about. This is going to be the foundation for your business, for your success, for your fulfillment, for your project, for your work, in your career, in your relationships. Like literally, this translates across everything. But we're here to talk spiritual excellence in business specifically. And then these three things aren't everything. So this is why in the center of the slide you see core values and conscious awareness. And so it's not just about your work and your values, but there is a level of conscious awareness that needs to be existent in terms of how not just your work, but how you operate impacts the people around you and affects the people around you, like your clients, your family, your friends, not in a way that would call for you to adjust or change yourself to meet them where they are, like absolutely not that, but in a way that causes the least amount of harm. And this is really, really important because I think a lot of times when we get really close with our why, with our work, when we can start to translate that to people and articulate that to people, that often can lead to that ideology of, I know what's best. I actually see what's happening and I know what's best for this person that I'm working with, right? Or I have this bigger picture that they don't have and I know what they need, right? Or whatever that thing is. And again, that's something that when 100% slides us into this slippery slope of ethical sales of trying to convince someone to work with us when it's not a full yes for them, but like we think it should be a full yes for them because we think our work is the shit and our work is the shit, but like maybe it's just not a yes for them, right? And so being consciously aware of how we navigate these power dynamics that exist in our work and our life and our relationships, so that we're able to hold our power, which is equal to everyone else's power around us, but different, right? In different roles, it's different. And so it's a question of how do we become consciously aware of the power that we hold when we work with other people and wield it in a way that causes the least amount of harm, right? Like it's not even about like bringing forward the most impact, because if you are operating out of integrity with self and coming into your work and your business from within, working out, like you're not going to cause any harm necessarily in your work, and you are going to like echo out positive impact all around you. But where we cause harm is again when we get attached to that externally and we're like, no, this person needs that. No. And I'm super guilty of this, by the way. I have a ton of people in my life where I'm like, oh my God, they should be doing this thing that I do. But the reality is they really shouldn't until they say they should, right? Until they know they should. Yeah. And so I guess to say this a little bit like more concisely, starting from within and working outwardly while causing the least amount of harm is like massive goal of spiritual excellence, which means a lot of things, by the way. It means like getting really good at what you do. It means like honing in on your craft. It means understanding how you communicate. It means understanding how you work with other people. It is totally walks the line of how you sell to people and like how you ethically meet people where they are, how you wield power dynamics. Again, understanding power dynamics of yourself, your clients, your employees, your friends, your friends who become clients. Like this is a really interesting one, but it's really important and it's subtle. Exercising your values while respecting the values of others. So without imposing your values on others, this is another thing that sometimes can happen as we start to expand into our own fuller beings and higher selves. It becomes really easy to think again, not only do I know best for me and for other people, but like these are the things I value, so other people should value them too. And like maybe not. And then remembering also that no matter what your role is and no matter what job you're doing, I'm just going to say this 50,000 times today, I guess, is that you can only ever know what's best for you and literally no one else, right? And I'm not saying that as if like I know what's best for anyone here or anyone listening later, because I don't, but I think there's this important thing of being consciously aware of who you are, why you're here, what your mission is, what the foundation of your work is. And then again, translating your why into your work, because your business's why and your why are going to be different. But if you can understand how your why is connected to the work that you do in your business, that's also going to exponentially increase and expand your touch in the world, your work in the world, what you bring to the world, and also like the money that you make, right? Like that's a really important connection to make. Something I think we all struggle with of like, And I see every single one of my clients do this, by the way, who are newer in business. Like every single client I've seen do this. And I am also guilty of this, where we share something, but we don't connect the dots to the work. This is really, really important. So, like, the first thing, I said this earlier, but like, again, starting with you, starting with your why. Why are you here? What's your mission? What's your overall like goal, right? And this doesn't have to be, well, you and I actually did it in FYP session. So like, I think you're a bit more clear on this, but like necessarily than like the general kind of public. This doesn't have to be like some fancy, like I'm here, like some, I don't know, like profound statement is what I'm trying to say. This doesn't have to be a profound statement. We can just say like, what if your why is, I don't know. I'm trying to think of like something kind of simple. Okay, I can't think of a really good example. I was trying to think of like a simple, like goods sold type thing, like bagging groceries or something. I don't know. It's super random, but we can just let go of that. So, like we find our purpose, our mission, or maybe I can use myself. I'll use myself as an example because that's always really easy. So my why, like the reason that I believe that I'm here in general, profound statement level, is to inspire people to touch the wisdom of their soul. So everything and anything I do on a regular basis is driven on some level by that statement in itself. Beyond that, my work, so the work at TCP, the corporate psychic, the work that I'm doing here today, like the work that you guys all engage with and see me doing, like through my own business, is slightly different. So the original mission of my business was to connect people with their soul's purpose, or connect people's work with their soul's purpose. So connect what people are here to do with what they're actually doing. That was like the main mission of the business. Mission also of a business is to awaken the soul in business. And so it's really similar, but it's subtly different. Like it's not the same thing as inspiring people to touch the wisdom of their soul. It's like I'm actually facilitating that a lot of times, right? The mission's different. But this is important because I know why I exist and I know how I fulfill what I exist through my business. So this is like, and I say this is important to kind of suss out for you, because this is what's going to give you the confidence and like the feeling of like what I'm doing is worthy for you to put yourself out there in your business. That's like number one. Number two, it's also your job as a business owner to connect the dots for other people. And so like that's the selling thing, that's the marketing thing, that's like the piece about putting yourself out into the world. And so if I were to just like post on Instagram, hi, I'm Marie, I'm here to inspire you to touch the wisdom of your soul, like that might resonate with some people, but they're going to be like, what the fuck does that mean? Right. And like it doesn't tell them a whole lot. And so like it's my job to say, oh, I'm here to inspire you to touch the wisdom of your soul. I do that through tarot readings. I do that through Akashic Records reading. I actually do like one-on-one coaching. And this is what comes from that, right? The other method is kind of to work through the mission of your business as well. So to share like my business is here to connect people with their soul purpose on this planet and to help them move into aligned jobs and businesses. That's pretty clear. That kind of can start drawing people in. People are kind of like, okay, I see how that applies to me now. Tell me more, right? So it starts to kind of connect those dots. I think we can connect them even more by saying like, instead of just being like, hey, I offer Akashic Records readings, to say something like, oh, here are some things you might learn in an Akashic Records readings and why you might be interested in having one. That's another way that will connect the dots for people. And so I think what ends up happening is, especially in the spiritual industry and business, and like I said, I see this with I've not seen this yet. I've not seen this yet with any of my clients, is that we'll start posting and sharing things directly from our heart, which is working from within, sharing it outward, but we don't connect the dots for anybody about why it actually applies to them, why they care, why we're sharing what we're sharing, and like what they can actively do about it. And so what we want to do is say like, here's what's on my heart. This is why I'm sharing this. This is how this could potentially impact you. And this is what I want you to do about it if you choose to, which essentially means like, I'm sharing this because I want to inspire you to touch the wisdom of your soul. You can be inspired. You can touch the wisdom of your soul by like actually just booking a reading with me. Here's how you can book a reading with me, right? Like it's connecting those dots over and over and over and over again. And the ethical part is like connecting them without saying you should book a reading with me, or this is why you need to book a reading with me. It's just connecting the dots of I'm here, you're there, I offer this service. Maybe you want this service or not. If you check these boxes, you probably do. And if you don't, that's okay, right? Like that's kind of what we're talking about when it comes to advertising. And so I'd say for you, like starting is just getting really clear on why. What am I here to do? Why? What's my mission? Like to expand outwardly from that, it's like, okay, how do I fulfill my mission in the work that I'm doing? And then how can I translate that to people so that they know in the work that I'm doing, I am achieving my mission and I'm helping them with X, right? So it's really clear with them what it is that I'm doing. And then it's to start small. I would say start small so you don't overwhelm yourself. I know you're also working full time, right? So pick one service product you're offering. I would actually say pick the highest revenue generating one service product you're offering and just start with that one thing and like focus on only that one thing. And I say this because the thing that's going to bring back the most money financially is going to be the thing that also builds your confidence. It's going to be the thing that allows you to start pulling yourself out of your job. And it's going to be the thing that continues to give you the energy that you need to continue expanding upon and building your like smaller things that you're offering or like the other things that you're offering. If you focus too much on let's say littler things, and I don't want to say baby steps because I think we all take baby steps. Baby steps are actually monumental. They're huge, right? I think especially when we start with a foundation, even like the smallest step out from our foundation, if our foundation is strong, that's going to be like massive magnitude of a step. But I say start with like the highest revenue generating things because like this is how you kind of avoid the burnout. And this is kind of like it feels really, really, really scary at first because you're like, I'm jumping off the cliff and I'm like, putting my highest level offer out into the world. But then when someone books it, it's like all of the work that you've done is worth it, as opposed to feeling like really drained after work and like kind of battling through the insecurity of like, why am I here? And should I really be doing this? And like, is this even worth it? Because I'm only making $15 or like whatever the thing is, right? So I'm going to pause because I said a lot of things. And I'll just kind of add, like, because this is something you mentioned, same thing, like your imposter syndrome will go away as you focus on your mission because you'll realize your mission is bigger than you. And like, it doesn't even matter about you and how credentialed you are. It's just so important that you do the work, right? And so it's like, how can you continually draw yourself back to that place of this is bigger than me? This is so important that I can't not share it, right? Like this is so important that I have to put it out there. And it has nothing to do with you. And actually even like as we kind of move forward in the slides, like calling in our dream clients, for example, as we're talking about services, is again, I don't want to like beat this into like a dead pulp, but like it's not about the people that you're bringing in. It's not about what you bring to them. It's not about how your thing solves their problems. It's about your mission. What is it that you're trying to do? What is it that you're here to achieve? How can you focus on that? How can you work into that and then outwardly from that? And again, connect the dots for people to understand how your work translates into their lives. But again, not making it about them because it's not about them. It's about why you're here, right? It's about what you came here to do. This is how you're going to call in your dream clients 150% of the time. Like these are your soulmate people, are the people who are like, I get behind the work that you do. And these are like your soulmate employees too, by the way, if you're like scaling a business. These are the people that are like, oh my gosh, it was so amazing when I hired Kate, and I was like, why do you want to do this? And she literally was like, I buy your mission. Like I'm here for it. And that's like to me a dream human to work with because I'm like, yes, fuck yeah. Now we can like team up together and do this thing together, right? Like now I'm not alone in this mission. And it's definitely now about way more than me, right? It's about way more than what I believe. And so that's, how we'll call in our people, but it's also how we beat the imposter syndrome. It's how we like feel like we should be here. It's like the thing that draws the worth and like brings out the confidence in us. And like that makes us put ourselves out there even when we don't want to. And it's the thing, by the way, because you said, how do I do this without it feeling forced? This is how you focus back in on your why. And you will feel forced, but in a different way. You're not going to feel forced on that like superficial layer of I feel forced to post on Instagram because I haven't posted on Instagram in 5 days. You're going to be like, I feel forced to talk about shadow work because no one is fucking talking about shadow work and I'm tired of that, right? Like I now need to like step out and say something and I don't even care what it is, because like I need to get the conversation started. And like, yeah, it's going to be scary and forceful, but it'll be scary and forceful in a way that feels um inspiring and manageable. Like that's kind of how you'll keep the energy going around that. I think this is important to talk about as we're talking about our why and our mission, and the thing that drives our movement and the thing that drives our business ultimately is the thing that drives our life, right? Like outside of business, like our mission, our movement is the thing that drives us as human beings on a daily basis. And if we can tap into that, like our whole life is going to transform in so many different ways, and allow us to blossom into this like, and I think this is important, Katie, because you're even like, how do I start? And I know you have a lot of different things happening. I know Kimberly, same thing with you, Marsha, like same with me. Like we all are so multifaceted, multi-passionate beings. It can be really hard to pick the thing and be like, this is the thing I'm going to do. I'm going to do it forever. I remember when I started, when I told my childhood best friend that I was leaving my job, she said, okay, what's your favorite thing you're doing for TCP right now? And at the moment it was recording podcasts. And so I was like, podcasts. And her response was, oh, are you going to be a full-time podcaster now? And I was like, no, I'm not going to be a full-time podcaster. But I think that there's a bit of pressure we put on ourselves to like pick the job and be in that job forever. Pick the thing and like just do that thing. Like I'm a musician, that's it. I have no one else. I'm not a multifaceted being. I'm a musician and I'm a fucking expert musician. Like that's like just like false. Like we're complex beings. We do so many different things. Even if we are like beautifully obsessed with something, super skilled, deeply rooted, like expert level of ability with one thing, doesn't take away from the fact that we're still a full and complex human being, and that we still have to navigate relationships. We still have to navigate like regular life BS. We still have to pay our bills. Like whatever the thing is, like we still get sick. We still have to deal with that. Like the circle of life, the cycle of life doesn't end because we're like, we found the thing, right? And then even then, like it's so rare that we find one thing and we stick with it and we pick it forever, but we feel all this pressure outside of us that we have to pick and find that one thing. And what I think is like the most beautiful thing is when we can start with our why and start with our mission. Again, it goes so far beyond our business. Like, so if we talk about, if we have this conversation in the context of spiritual excellence in business itself, this is true. But if we take business out of it, the root of this is like spiritual excellence in your life is holding integrity in yourself and like allowing that to echo out in every single variation that it wants to, right? That we're desired or pulled or called to do, which means taking a job sometimes that we know we might not be in forever. Like, and I'll be the first person to say, like, I just started my role in January of 2022. I'm like quitting my company altogether. Like that was uncomfortable for everyone because everyone's like, wait a second, what? You're not doing this forever? And even myself, because it's this thing where I feel we feel this pressure to, when we do something, we're committing to it for all the time. And like, this is now going to be the one thing in our life. But the fact is there are so many different things. And this is what sometimes makes starting a business really difficult, by the way, or going out on our own into entrepreneurship, because we're like, well, what's the one thing I'm going to do? And actually, I think what works for the majority of us is to not pick one thing, but to allow ourselves to do all of the things, and to do all of the things that we do as well as we possibly can, and to show up 100% as much as we possibly can in all of the things, so that we can continue to grow and expand in all areas and like make money in a variety of things, right? Like we don't have to have a singular business that's doing all of the things for us. We can do a plethora of things that we really enjoy, and understanding that if we're tapping into that joy within us and we're touching into that mission, like we're golden, we're going to be fine, right? Like the abundance is going to be there. We don't have to constrain ourselves to that, singular space. So I don't know. Thank you for saying that. I think it's important to call out. Okay, cool. So let's see what else we have going on here. Oh, navigating tricky situations. So I have 2 more slides. Yeah, navigating tricky situations and then holding your clients and your people to their highest. This kind of goes back to putting the responsibility back onto the person that it is you're serving, right? Like, yes, we hold power. Yes, we're responsible for that power. And part of our responsibility is to give that power back, which means not enabling people, which goes to the navigating difficult and tricky situations. It means not enabling people. It means not, and by enabling, it means like being fully honest all the time with where we're at and with where we're meeting other people, right? So that we can give them their power and hold them in their highest, so that they choose to do whatever they want with their power, but that they know that they're in their power. Which means, by the way, whenever you're operating in integrity, anytime you're operating in full integrity, there always will be a difficult situation or conversation to navigate. It's like impossible that you're going to go through the rest of your life without having to navigate something tricky or navigate something that feels difficult or that feels uncomfortable, because you're being constantly asked left and right every single day as a human, as a business owner, as a person on this planet, to self-abandon and to do the things that work for others, right? And so I think these are two things that are important, but I actually want to pause because we only have 15 minutes and I just want to check in with you guys to see like what other questions you have or how things are landing. Okay, so I want to be super cognizant of time. So I am just gonna tell you guys what I have going on. As you know, there's always never any pressure to be or a part of any of it. And actually, I think you are almost all signed up for the Quantum Leap already. As you know, that's starting in July, not June. Super freaking excited for TQL. And then the next masterclass for the community is Side Hustle to Full-Time Biz. So that's going to kind of be like a super, super bite-sized variation of TQL. So even if you guys are coming to TQL, I would love to have you in Side Hustle as well. And if I think you all are in the community, but if you're not, just like let me know and I'm happy for you guys to join for free because I know you guys are coming into the Quantum Leap. Other than that, you know where to find me. So I'm here. Katie, send me your stuff. Kimberly, Marcia, don't ever hesitate to say hello. And I hope that you guys have the most amazing evenings. Thank you so much for gathering with me.